Hi everyone, welcome to my Colang. This is my submission for Egmishwa's Cursed Colang Circus. I'm sorry if it is a little bit hard to understand me since English is not my first language, and I'm a little bit nervous since this is my first showcase, but I'm going to try my best. So I'm going to be presenting Colang, which is the language of colors, and in its own language, it is pronounced Slide. Slart. So yeah, it sounds a little bit weird. You'll know why I changed my voice in the first syllable in a moment. I must say my accent in this language is terrible, so please forgive me for that. I'm not a native speaker. And then you might have noticed that there's no word in a different script. That's because the script of this language is represented by the colors of these letters. So this language uses only colors to convey meaning. So the first color in here is the color for the word color, and the color in the ang, and these three letters, is the color for the word language. Okay, I just realized I take a lot of time to explain this, so I'm gonna explain it post recording it. Basically, in this island, there are a lot of people who had to eat the only edible thing in this island, which is some mushrooms that can be poisonous or not. And the only way to tell whether or not they're poisonous is depending on their colors. So they had to adapt genetically to be able to distinguish these colors very accurately. Once explained that, we can go on with the video. Ma, ba, da, ch, j, ga, fa, v, th, s, za, sh, h, w, l, y, r. So yeah, pretty common phonology except for that implosive click, which is basically a palatal click, where you have to go on swallowing the air so that it sounds like an implosive uvular. Then we have the vowels. The vowel system is pretty common. This is only a four vowel system, which is E, U, A. The E and U vowels have an allophone, which is an O, used when they're next to glides. Uh, this vowel is actually just a central A, but it looks like that because of the font. Then we have the tones and voices system. This is what you heard in the name of the language. So there are various voices in this language which are described in this chart, and I'm going to be reading out loud. Aw. Uh, aw. And then we have the breathy normal voice, which is just an allophone of the falsetto breathy voice. Then we have the tones, which are uh, 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 uh. So yeah, I probably mispronounced most of the tones, but I don't speak any tonal language, so I'm sorry for that. I'm trying my best. Now we go to how to actually read the colors. So there are three channels where the color is divided into, or can be divided into, which are red, green, and blue. Then these channels can go from 0 to 255, and we must take them to binary then. And once we have them into binary, we have to split them into different slots. We'll get a binary number of 8 digits, and for the red color, for example, we gotta split it into the into a number of 5 digits and into another number of 3 digits. Then we've got to take these slots with binary numbers and take them to decimal again. So then after we take them to decimal, we can assign a sound or a group of sounds to that number, and that will be the sound that we'll have to use. So the hardest one to understand might be the final bit in the green color. So it will only describe whether a vocal fry is also pharyngalized or whether a rasp is also breathy, is the second voice. We have an example here. This is the word for deer in the language. So we gotta split it into these three channels. We get that for this color, the red component is 240. For this one is 236, and for this one is 35. Then we take them to binary, split it as I mentioned before, and we take them to decimal again and see what sounds correspond to each number. So we get the word xiert. I mispronounced that tone for sure, but so here there are some grammar rules. You should read it if you want to have a better understanding of the language. But to summarize, it is basically similar to Japanese with determinants. And here now you have an explanation of how the blue channel works to describe the grammar of the language. So depending on what number is in the blue channel, you will have a different type of verb, noun, etc. So for example, here you have all these values that correspond to verbs. And depending on the number that is in the blue channel, you get a verb that can be affirmative, habitual, punctual, progressive, etc. So we can see it basically works the same way for the nouns, adverbs, or adjectives. There are various cases that can be plural or singular, and there are three different grades for adverbs and adjectives. So then we have a gender system, which is only marked in the determinant that must agree with the gender of the noun. The gender of the noun depends on the color of that noun. Here you have all the rules that you must know, but to summarize, if that object is green, for example, it's a green apple, it must be neuter, and if it is a red apple, it must be masculine. So here we have a picture. In this culture, it is pretty common to paint with language. So basically, here we have an image. In the blue channel, as we saw before, it determines the grammatical function of the word. But if it is not a multiple of 5, meaning if the blue channel is, for example, 6 and not 5, it will be a filler word, meaning that you can paint with these words with no meaning and hide in the picture some words that have in the blue channel a multiple of 5, and these words will convey a message. So in this image, the only pixels that have a blue value that is a multiple of 5 are these ones, and these ones are the one that carry the meaning of the sentence. So even though in this image you can see something, the actual message is another one. The actual message that is hidden in this image is Ekmeshwa is suspected of being a deer. We can see here the pixels that are used to convey this meaning, and all the other pixels in this image didn't have any meaning because those were, as I said before, not multiple of 5 in the blue channel. So I'm going to try to read the sentence. I might pronounce it wrong. Sport. Xiert. Herbs. So yeah, that would be basically the way you would have to phrase Agmishwa is suspected of being a deer in this language. The grammar is very different from English, so don't expect the words to be a literal translation from English to Colang. Okay, so once we have seen that the message is totally different from the image, we can see how we can paint with this language. And we also have a fourth channel I didn't talk about, but it basically describes the amount of something that there is. So the more transparent a number is, the more amount of that thing there are. A number, not, sorry, a symbol. So, for example, if the alpha channel is 253, it would basically mean 3 deers in this case. And the numbers are gestured, and for the number 4, for example, you have to take off all your clothing, which is kind of weird, but there's a theory that says that the king of this land didn't want people to learn maths. And now we got to the translation. It will probably take me several tries, but I'm gonna try my best. Flört. Viol. Mrimp. Whoops. Zwart. Slium. Mim. Rom. Edward. Xert. Yart. Slium. Fight. Sherbs. Bravamj. Xert. Art. Yum. Blum. Fort. Zrn. Ait. Xrait. Jam. Blarbs. Sliumrt. Zum. Omj. Blum. Xlium. Fort. Xird. Churbs. Shrimp. Blum. Splump. Gallops. And that was all. I hope you liked it. And you didn't suffer too much while listening to me.